does grab third, finishes on the podium for the second time this weekend. And by our math here in the announcer's booth, he'll take a 5.5 point lead into COTA at the end of October. So these two drivers to decide the championship, but mathematically some of the other drivers are still in there, and it looks like we've got 4, maybe 5 who mathematically have still got a shot at the championship in the F4 United States Championship. Coming up next on the schedule will be the Emzone Radical Cup Canada Series race presented by Michelin. That one's set to go here in about 10 minutes. Dave Bradley and Todd Lewis will be taking over the announcer booth here to bring you lap-by-lap coverage of that 40-minute race here in the Emzone Radical Cup Canada Series. Then at 10:40, John Phippen and I will be back for the Formula Regional Americas Championship. That championship wrapped up here yesterday by Patrick Woods-Toth as he looks to pull off the sweep here of all 3 of those races. And then Dave Bradley and I back for the second of the Nissan Sentra Cup races. And then the Sports Car Championship Canada, presented by Michelin 40-minute race, will take us to the lunch break. Again, a reminder of the NASCAR Canada autograph session in the upper paddock at 12:30. And then we'll get into our pre-race activities, opening ceremonies, all leading up to a 2 p.m. start to the WeatherTech 200. Adam Ross will be in the announcer's booth joining me for that. So a jam-packed Sunday on an absolutely beautiful late summer weekend here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Again, our public address broadcast available at 90.7 on your FM dial. The Leukemia Bottle Drive will continue. This is their final day. They're collecting your empty bottles, cans, and plastic alcohol beverage containers with proceeds going to fund research into leukemia. And again, the volunteers wearing those red Leukemia Bottle Drive shirts, just call them over. They'll be happy to take all of your empties. And again, we do thank all of the fans who have already donated their empties here this weekend. Our Canadian Tire roadside assistance shuttles operating throughout the day until 6 o'clock. The shuttle station is in the CTMP marketplace, and they'll be visiting pretty much every corner here on the racetrack. As well, in that CTMP marketplace, the various displays from Assa Abloy along with Roy Nichols Motors Drive Fest that will be here next weekend, the Ron Fellows Driving Experience, and Poly Sleep. Be sure to stop by the Motormaster booth and play Plinko for your chance to win some great prizes. And in the Canadian Tire Fun Zone, where we've got bounce castles, inflatables, games, and giveaways today. There's also face painting that will run from 9:30 until 3:30 this afternoon. The beer garden will be open at 11 o'clock, serving up CTMP's Custom 61 lager from craft brewer Brock Street Brewery, as well as Carlsberg products, as well as all of our various options in terms of racetrack merchandise. You've got the CTMP merchandise trailer next to the trackside grill, and also the FEL Motorsports merchandise booth, as well as Fast Eddie's if you're looking for NASCAR Canada items. As we come up a little bit later on into the lunch hour, of course, all of the various food vendors in the CTMP marketplace, that will open at 10 o'clock. Tiny Tim's Donuts, Lemon Heaven, along with Heavenly Dreams Ice Cream, Temptations Food Truck, and Loaded Pierogi. And again, today the Trackside Grill will be open until 4 p.m. It opened right at 7 o'clock this morning for breakfast. And then up in turn number 3, Miller's Meats. They are going to stay open late this evening, I understand, till about 10 o'clock for those fans who are going to be camping and staying over tonight. And then Miller's Meats will be open tomorrow morning for breakfast until about mid-morning. They, of course, are featuring that brand new Bagger Burger as well as corn on the cob that they've added to the menu for this weekend. Just $4 for corn on the cob up there in turn number 3 at Miller's Meats. So in just a few minutes, Todd Lewis and Dave Bradley will be joining us here in the booth for coverage of the Emzone Radical Cup Canada Series presented by Michelin. The series will wrap up its championship at the end of September on the 27th, 28th, and 29th weekend at Mont-Tremblant. Of course, the Sports Car Championship Canada Series, they'll have their final race of the year coming up a little bit later on this morning. WeatherTech Canada is proud to present race number 11 in the NASCAR Canada Series, the WeatherTech 200, coming up this afternoon at 2 p.m. Located in Burlington, Ontario, you'll find the WeatherTech retail showroom with friendly product experts and a full complement of automotive accessories on display. The 100,000 square foot fulfillment center stocks over 250,000 WeatherTech items ready for immediate pickup or to be shipped anywhere in Canada. With over 30 years of experience producing the best fitting automotive accessories and backed by a lifetime guarantee, nothing protects like WeatherTech. Order online at weathertech.ca. Accelerate your next group event. Elevate your corporate group experience, driving world-class high-performance vehicles on the legendary Grand Prix circuit here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park with the Ron Fellows Driving Experience. Created by Ron Fellows, this unique program is an exclusive opportunity to reward and entertain your group with an exhilarating performance driving event featuring racetrack-developed models from Corvette, Camaro, and Cadillac. Our late afternoon to evening events feature a small group environment designed to provide an engaging, intimate, and exciting experience. For more information about the Ron Fellows Driving Experience, you can go on the website, CanadianTireMotorsportPark.com, or email info@ctmpark.com, or you can call the track to get more information on the Ron Fellows Driving Experience events still on the calendar for 2024. As we look ahead to the 2025 racing season, you're invited to sign up for the CTMP newsletter. There is a link at the top of the website's home page, and if you subscribe to the newsletter, you'll get all of the updates as well as the information as soon as the 2025 schedule has been finalized for next year. ASSA ABLOY, the world's leading manufacturer of doors, frames, and hardware, securing any type of opening in whether it be your house, condo, business, or institution. Of course, they are the proud sponsor of the EHR at Hackinson Racing number 3 Chevrolet Camaro that'll be driven by Jason Hathaway later on this afternoon. If you want to win a Simonized pressure washer this weekend, visit Canadian Tire Motorsport Park's Instagram page and enter this weekend's Simonized contest for your chance to take home a brand new electric pressure washer, the perfect addition for all of your fall cleaning needs. And again, Canadian Tire, proud to support motorsports throughout the 2024 race season. Be sure to check out the Canadian Tire booth in the CTMP Marketplace today for giveaways, chances to win some awesome prizing, and more, featuring featuring Blue Hive and Motomaster. So cars about to roll out onto the racetrack. I'm going to step aside. The next voices you'll be hearing will be that of David Bradley and Todd Lewis, who will bring you coverage of our Emzone Radical Cup Canada presented by Michelin. That race is coming up next.
Welcome to the Emzone Radical Cup Canada presented by Michelin. I'm Dave Bradley. Along with me is Todd Lewis, and this is the final race of the weekend for this group after a very competitive first race, and it has sort of adjusted the point standings that we'll be telling you about over the course of this race, but we can give you an idea of the starting lineup for this race. It will be Kenny Reedman, followed by Owen Clark, who will start alongside on the outside in row number 1. Mark Boyd and Chris Stiles, the teammate, make up row number 2. Then it's Lana Carter, Daniel Earl. So Earl is the first of the Masters class drivers, and he will roll off in 6th spot, followed by Tim Sanderson. Brady Clapham in the 77 will roll off in the 8th spot. Robert Burgess, John Painter in 9th and 10th. And then Liang Xu in the 3 car will start in 11th. John Sobel, Tobias Lutke, and Doug Allingham in the 30 will start shotgun. He's taking over for Matt Graham, who drove yesterday, so that's the reason why he's starting towards the tail of the field. But as we welcome in Todd Lewis, Todd, these cars, we've talked about it before in the past in other broadcasts, but there's no shortage of excitement and really so many question marks in every race.
Smiles and fun, the often used words from a number of the drivers in the Radical Cup Canada, just because there is downforce in these cars. There's a nice amount of horsepower. They are not the biggest, most powerful engines, but the cars are super light, very nimble, and you can take advantage of that aerodynamics that the cars put into play. They give you a lot of downforce, and you can take these turns at pretty high speed. We got the field formed up nicely, 2 by 2. Lights are out on the pace car, and it looks like we'll be able to get our second race of the weekend here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park underway shortly. We'll see if Kenny Reedman can complete the sweep. He was the winner yesterday, scored a nice victory, and looking to double up here today.
Yeah, he sure did. He opened up a significant margin over second place Owen Clark and sort of cruised on to the win. But yeah, another day, another different track condition. It's sunny and warm to start, so that is going to be much different than what they raced on to start yesterday when there were still spots of moisture on this racing surface. But onto the front straightaway they'll go. You can hear the rev start to pick up, and there's the green flag. We're underway here in the Emzone Radical Cup Canada, presented by Michelin.
Just as they did yesterday, fanning out 3 and 4 wide heading into corner number 1. Still 3 wide through corner number 1 in rows 2 and 3. But Kenny Reedman has jumped out in front of Owen Clark and has a small lead going into 2. And again, everybody seems to be getting through smoothly. Still have cars going 2 wide through corner 2.
I was going to say almost not smoothly. The 16 of Lana Carter went way to the outside, got on that painted area, and now she pace it down to the inside of John Painter in the 9 in turn number 3. A daring move for the driver now representing Oro Station, new sponsor coming on board the 16.
It looks like it cost her just 1 position, which is very fortunate with Lana Carter taking that line through the corner. But now they're heading down through corners 5A and B, and everybody seems to have settled in, and pretty much a single file line right now as they head out onto the Andretti straightaway for the first time.
I say the 77 of Brady Clapham just in behind there as you see the string of cars starting to stretch out down the Andretti straightaway. Mark Boyd leading the second group. He's behind the wheel of the 12. There is the 2 of Robert Burgess. He is your points leader in the Masters class and nearly getting together with the 9 of Painter as he moves to the outside for turn number 8. Has to back off smartly this early in this run.
Try to use the draft just a little bit down the long straightaways. You get right up underneath the rear wing, and Painter did let him go, and that's the 9 of Alana Carter, or the 16, excuse me, of Alana Carter, who is going around the 9 car of John Painter.
If this is your first time experiencing Radical Cup Canada cars here at CTMP and you're listening to the engine and wondering what's underneath. Well, they're about a 230 horsepower engine. They're four-cylinder, 1,340 cc. They only weigh about 1,365 pounds. Top speed, 235 kilometers an hour. And yeah, there's a 6-speed sequential gearbox. And as you've been hearing, there's a Masters class, which is for drivers of advanced age, let's say. And then the general Radical Cup Canada cars. So the black number panel with white numbers are Radical Cup Canada cars. The white number panel with black numbers indicates the Masters class cars, just like Tim Sanderson there in the 07.
That's the 9 ahead of the 07 of Tim Sanderson, John Painter in the 9 car. And again, everybody just about strung out nose to tail as they're making their way down along the long straightaway. That is the 9 car that is leading the group of 2 or 3 cars. And again, the drivers will be able to take advantage of the draft in the long straightaways. We're getting a look at the 39 of Daniel Earl, who is leading that Masters category right now and having himself a pretty good run so far in the early going.
Yeah, yesterday in race number 1, he did have a spin in turn number 2, but it was a quick 360 spin, fairly high speed, but it whipped right back around, grabbed a gear and kept going. It actually went on to win the Masters class. So it was just a little hiccup in his morning jaunt in the Masters class, but this morning seems to be a much smoother start for the driver, the 39.
I referred to it as the CTMP spin and win yesterday for Daniel Earl, who I think he surprised himself when it happened because he turned around, got pointed in the right direction, and everything's okay, I'm okay, I got to get going, and then carried on to continue and win the race. He had a very good run yesterday, even with that spin.
There's a good look at the green and black number 39 of Daniel Earl, the 77 of Brady Clapham just in behind. Robert Burgess, your points leader in the Masters class, but the championship standings in the Masters did shrink a little bit. Burgess finishing in behind the 07 of Tim Sanderson, so it's down to 15 points, and there will be a couple rounds remaining after this event here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. So one more at Mont Tremblant, Circuit Mont Tremblant, coming up on September 26th to the 29th for the Radical Cup Canada Championship. So there you see Mark Boyd, the 12, ahead of Earl, the 77. So again, the mix of cars not necessarily racing in championship battles amongst each other, because you can see the different colors of the number panels. So, but they're, you know what, you see a car on the racetrack, you want to pass it, you want to finish as high in the standings as you possibly can. The 77 moves to the inside, and there you see Daniel Earl knows that's not for position in the standings, the championship. So Earl just points him through and gives him space.
It gives Brady Clapham the opportunity to try to run down the 12 car of Mark Boyd, because that is the next car that he is pursuing, currently running in 4th position overall. And Brady Clapham will have a much better opportunity now that he has cleared Daniel Earl. And of course, Earl can focus on his battle against the number 2 of Robert Burgess, who is running 2nd in the Masters.
Seems like there's been an issue with the 16 of Alana Carter. She was in that battle just ahead of the 77 of Brady Clapham. There was a car that was slow. We saw it from our drone shot off of turn number 1. I couldn't really pick up who it was. It appears as though it was the 16, because Carter's now down in 10th spot after starting 5th today. So I'm not sure if it was a sort of a mishap, or I don't think it was a full spin. We didn't see a car go around, and obviously not a caution, and she's able to continue on, but definitely a moment for the driver of the 16.
As you mentioned, got a little bit wide, and now it's time to regroup and focus. We're just approaching the 6-minute mark in this 40-minute timed race, so still plenty of time for Alana Carter to gather herself back up and climb back through the field a little bit. The car directly ahead of her right now is the 07 of Tim Sanders, but that's a Masters division car, not one that she'd be racing directly.
You see the gap at the front of the field isn't all that much. As a matter of fact, just over a second the last time they crossed the stripe. Kenny Reedman out in front in the 42. There he is, overall race leader and leader in the Radical Cup Canada Championship standings. And in the event here today, he's just ahead of the 55 of young Owen Clark. And Clark is very much keeping him honest here today. And look, a different line off of turn number 5C and onto the straightaway.
And this is what drivers will do is, okay, we had one race already this weekend. It wasn't really successful. So now they have the opportunity to go back, review some video, look at any telemetry and data that they can acquire, and look at areas where they may be to be able to improve, especially for a young racer like Owen Clark. You're looking to improve with every session and every opportunity out on track. So it's an opportunity to try a different line, especially coming out of that challenging 5A and B combination. It sets you up for maximum speed at the end of the Andretti straightaway. So trying some different things, and so far in the early going, staying in close contact with Kenny Reedman.
Speaking of close contact, the 2 of Robert Burgess has managed to track down the race leader in the Masters class, and that's the difference between those 2 cars. Tim Sanderson also in the Masters class championship in that green and gray entry. So the top 3 in Masters class now all within striking distance of each other. All it'll take is one minor mistake and positions will change as Daniel Earl holds on to the lead, but Robert Burgess is definitely coming. And realistically, like Burgess yesterday, if you look at his run, wasn't necessarily up to the 2024 standards of the driver of the 2.
No, it's but he did not have his best race yesterday, but is certainly keeping that 39 car in check. It's very easy to keep it in sight because of the tremendous color scheme that has that fluorescent green on it. It's really easy to keep an eye on, and Robert Burgess looks like he's closed up a little closer.
Yeah, he had 2 wins, 7 podiums in 7 races coming into the weekend, so 8 podiums in 8 races for Robert Burgess after finishing 3rd in race number 1, but again losing 5 points to the 07 of Tim Sanderson in the championship, trying to gain back at least those points, maybe build on his points lead. As you can see, the race at the front is now grown by about 7/10 of a second. And Kenny Reedman has just laid down his fastest lap of the race, a 1:21.0, compared to Owen Clark's last lap time, a 1:21.7. So Reedman getting comfortable, starting to lean on it a little more.
And Owen Clark, who has crept a little bit closer, and Kenny Reedman saw that and went, all right, now I have to answer the call. Puts in his quickest lap in the early going, still just short of 9 minutes run in this 40-minute race, but Kenny Reedman stretches it out just a little bit, and now the emphasis goes back to Owen Clark, who's got to find a way to chip into that lead just a little bit. You're not going to pick it all up in one lap or 2. It's going to take a little bit of time, and once they start moving into lap traffic a little later in the race, that may be the opportunity for Owen Clark to close in.
And you may know the story of Kenny Reedman, 32 years old, coming into this season, former Canadian Superbike champion, and started in karts actually, and then went the 2-wheel route as a youngster and stuck on bikes for a long time. And then when you start to age, those crashes start to hurt just a little bit more. So you add a couple wheels to your repertoire, and back into the Radical Cup Canada Championship. And he has really found a home. Coming into this season, he had the most points in series history, and he's just been adding to that here in 2024. As a matter of fact, he picked up his 5th win of the season in race number 1.
And looks to be very focused and on point so far today. Stretches the lead out just a little bit to nearly 2.3 seconds now over second place runner Owen Clark. But just watching him hit his marks perfectly as he's coming through 9 and 10, out onto the front straight, smooth through corner 1, and now making his way through on another lap. Understands that he's got a comfortable margin. He'll want to build the margin up a little bit, as he did in race number 1 this weekend. Gives you that little bit of buffer that you can cautiously proceed through lap traffic later on in the race.
There's a good look at the Purity Gas at number 7 of Chris Stiles, and Stiles picking up his 3rd podium of the season in race number 1. And as a matter of fact, that was enough to leapfrog his teammate Mark Boyd in the point standings. So he now sits in 4th in the overall point standings in the Radical Cup Canada Championship. There's the 12 of Mark Boyd, who slid down the running order, and not by much, because in race number 1, Stiles finished 3rd, Boyd finished 4th, but Boyd's going to have Clapham here, giving him some fits in just a little bit in the Emzone sponsored number 77.
And this is what we have seen all season in the Emzone Radical Cup Canada, is the great battles for position throughout the field. Not just at the front of the field, it's a close 2-second margin from Kenny Reedman back to second place Owen Clark, but throughout the field, whether you're racing for 4th and 5th or 7th and 8th, we see good battles, and in both classes as well, both the Masters and the Emzone Radical Cup Canada.
And Brady Clark racing in his very first season in Radicals, coming in as a 17-year-old. So it's one of those teenage moments where you move from go-karts into cars, and Clapham is doing well in tracking down Mark Boyd in the 12 car. He's actually had a very inspired run. He didn't start all that far up in the running order. He was back in 8th position off the get-go in the 77, but he really has put his head down, got his elbows out, and started moving forward. And you can see he's pushing that 77 as the back end slides a little bit through turn 5.
Found his way up into the top 5 and is looking to pick up another position. And you can see how he is trying to fly right in the tire tracks of that 12 car of Mark Boyd directly ahead of him. Use whatever draft you can pick up down the straightaway, close that gap up a little further. Again, you won't close the gap entirely in a single lap unless a dramatic mistake is made by the car ahead of you, but he has continued to tighten that battle up.
Well, as a matter of fact, his last lap was his fastest of the race so far. So the 77 is definitely trying to move forward. The 39 of Daniel Earl has eased the pressure, so you put through a couple really good competitive laps. You can open a bit of a gap, bit of breathing room back to the 2 of Robert Burgess. But again, that could be the veteran Burgess just backing off a little bit, letting those Michelin tires cool down. You still have a long way to go, so there's still 27 minutes left in this 40-minute time trial.
That's right. It's the consistency of the Michelin tires is wonderful for these Radical Cup cars, but you want to make sure that you have some performance left in them for the end of the race. You want to be able to push a little harder at the end, and if you do it too early, you're going to use up all of that good that will allow you to maybe snag that late position.
It's that good at the end of the race that the drivers are searching for when everybody else's equipment starts to drop off. You want your car to be at peak performance, and looks like Kenny Reedman is still at peak performance. Last time through, it was 2.5 seconds, the lead back to the 55 of Owen Clark. And there you can see Clark in the white, blue, and yellow number 55 coming to your screen, flash through on turn number 10 and onto the front straightaway. You can still see the 42, so it's still very close, but 2.69 seconds the difference now between first and second.
Just picking up a 10th or a 10th and a half on each lap will make a difference for Kenny Reedman as he tries to navigate traffic a little bit later on. But if you're Owen Clark, you can be one of two mindsets. You can either get frustrated that you've lost a little bit of ground to the driver ahead of you, or accept it as the challenge. All right, he had a better lap than me last time. I want to close that gap this time. You're looking for areas where you might be able to get through a corner a little bit quicker. Maybe you can try to follow in the tire track, get a little bit of a draft depending on how close you are. But accepting it as a challenge is a lot better than getting frustrated out there.
Oh, absolutely, because when you're frustrated, you will go backwards in a hurry. It's almost like dropping the anchor, that frustration. But you're right, and you think about a good lap to a less, not as good a lap between Reedman and Owen Clark. We're talking about tenths of a second, in some times hundredths of a second. So it is just one minorly missed apex. It's one bump that you hit that throws the car a little bit askew. These are not majorly bad laps. It's just minor tweaks that could catch you out.
And if you find that sweet spot coming through one of the corners, depending on where you are on track, whether it's corner 8, 9, and 10, that combination that leads you out onto the front straight. If you come out of corner 10 a little bit better, you carry a little more speed into corner number 1, and that carries you further through corner numbers 2 and 3, and that's where the improvement comes. It may start halfway back in the previous lap, but that's where the improvement will come further along.
And these are very much momentum cars. So we talk about the horsepower levels, about 230 horsepower, how they're so light, how they're so nimble. But realistically, the drivers have to think racecraft. They have to start thinking about linking their corners together, because one mistake here, for example, if Kenny Reedman was to make one, it would affect you all the way down into turn number 8. You wouldn't hit that top speed of about 250 kilometers an hour in these Radical Cup Canada cars.
So there's the first step for Owen Clark. On the last lap, the gap remained constant at 2.6 seconds. All right, so now I'm matching the racer ahead of me. Now I want to try and improve just a little bit more. And again, it'll be a tenth or a half a tenth on a lap or 2 or 3, and you try to close that gap down a little bit. Still plenty of time. We're a little over 23 minutes still to go in this race, so there's lots of time and opportunity if you're picking up a tenth or 2 every couple of laps.
And that's the thing. That's half the battle about professional racing, is just trying to beat yourself when it comes to your best time, trying to better yourself every time you're in an on-track session. As you can see, the top 5 cars really separated by almost equal distance now as Kenny Reedman starting to look at the back end of some lap traffic. That's John Sobel in the 70 just ahead. And Sobel running in the Masters Class Championship, and he'll check his mirrors and see the blue flags when the 42 comes through.
And again, this is with improvement of racecraft. This is why the Radical Cup Canada Series is so popular. It's an opportunity for young racers, whether it's Owen Clark, whether it's Brady Clapham, whether it's Alana Carter, to jump in, get a good amount of track time in a weekend with practice, qualifying sessions, and 2 races to hone that racecraft and improve your skills. There is aerodynamics that come into play on the car, so you're learning an awful lot every time you're out on track.
And one of the beauties about these cars, too, is their reliability. It's not very, and I'm going to touch wood because you don't want to bring that upon anybody, but normally these cars will be able to finish an entire 40-minute distance without issue. These engines are so reliable, the gearboxes are great, and the chassis really hold up well. They're built for a club racer, so they can be leaned on a little bit heavier, but they're equally as good at the hands of somebody talented like Kenny Reed.
If you abuse them a little bit, it's not going to cost you too much. And again, cost effective. That's why so many racers jump into it. It's a great way to learn and an opportunity to get significant track time. On the last lap by, Owen Clark cut into that lead just a little bit. It's now under 2.5 seconds, 2.49 the last time by. So just that little bit of a tenth of an improvement. There's a step in the right direction for Owen Clark. We'll see if he can continue. Chris Stiles continues to run in 3rd. It is Mark Boyd in 12th. In the 12 car 4th, and Brady Clapham in the 77 is 5th.
Tobias Lutke in the 22. That car normally campaigned by Trevor Hill in the Tooth Autosports number 22. He is at the tail of the pack. It is first weekend campaigning in that 22 car, so he goes a lap down, or Travis Hill, excuse me, and the Trevor is the tuner, Travis is the driver, as I sometimes get them mixed up in two.
They switch back and forth.
I know they
too.
do. It's very and they look alike. It's very confusing. But anyway, Travis Hill, of course, started the season in the Radical Cup Canada Championship in that 22, and then hands over the reins. And that's what they do well too. The Hill brothers is they groom new drivers to come into the series. Do you want to try it? You could try ours and go out and have some fun.
Very much so, as you can come in and enjoy and participate in the Emzone Radical Cup Canada, and then if you want to continue with Tooth Autosport, they expand into other areas of sports car racing as well, whether it's the Sports Car Championship Canada presented by Michelin. They've done some IMSA racing in the Michelin Pilot Challenge Series and some other disciplines as well, so it's an opportunity to step in and to grow with the team.
Good battle here between Liang Chu in the 3 car, that Martini livery, just ahead of the 17 of James Michelin. And they're running nose to tail down the Andretti straightaway. And now it looks like Michelin is going to dive to the outside to try and make a run for turn number 8. Michelin outside to inside in the 17. And has to follow single file through turn number 8. And interesting for these Radical Cup Canada cars, turn number 8 is not a heavy braking zone. It's sort of one of those areas where you lift off the gas, but the aerodynamics really sticks the car to the ground. So if you try a move, you have to almost make it really stick. You have to be up there before you can make it happen. Illustrates
your point of it being a momentum track as well, as you want to carry as much speed as you can, stay off the brakes, use it just a little bit to set the car through a corner, if you will, as we reach the halfway point of this race.
And now look at this battle. Again, this one is for 11th and 12th on the racetrack, but every position matters as Michelin slides through on the inside in turn number 3. And that is a textbook pass. You take the run that you get downhill off turn number 2, back up top in the hill in turn number 3. There's so many elevation undulations here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. It's what makes this facility so special to race on and so difficult, so challenging for these drivers as they head down the Andretti straightaway and really let these cars sing.
And again, here's the opportunity, the 17 of James Michelin trying to use that draft just a little bit and stay ahead of the 3 car of Leng Chu is trying to stay ahead of James Michelin as you go down that long back straightaway. And that Gulf livery throwback is a beautiful one, being chased by the throwback Martini livery as well. That's a cool sight out on course.
Yeah, it is cool. You're like, wait, we're in 1974 or 2024. But yeah, it's neat to see. And Michelin had a slow start in race number 1, but ended up working his way forward and actually had a pretty good finish in that race. But and today is doing the same thing, as you can see the 42 of Kenny Reedman now coming up to shadow those two as they've finished swapping positions, and now the overall race leader is looking to put them a lap down. And we got problems, and it's Mark Boyd, turn number 10, backs into the tire wall. And Boyd was battling with Brady Clapham for 5th position, and I don't know if there was contact, but definitely contact with the tire wall as the Purity Gas number 12 has damage to the rear wing. And it looks like he's going to have to take a pit side. He's going again, so we avoid a full course caution, just a local caution. And yeah, Mark Boyd is going to slide past his crew along the front straightaway, and he's going to limp his way back around.
And we'll see, you can see that damage to the wing is significant into the rear end, and you don't know what else has been damaged underneath the bodywork of that car. So he'll slowly make his way around track and do his best to stay off the racing line. Didn't get a good look to see if there was any dirt or grass or debris that was brought out onto the racetrack as well, something the other racers will want to be aware of as they come through that corner 10 area as well. But that 12 car of Mark Boyd is sliding down the timesheets right now as he limps around after the hard contact with the outside wall coming through corner number 10.
And you can see some smoke from the right rear corner as well, as it appears as though he's got a tire rub. So some of the bodywork now rubbing on those Michelin tires. So he's just going to take it easy and try and get back. But you can see it's enough damage. It's not a debilitating, well, I mean, when you damage the rear wing, it's debilitating enough, but this will end his day early. He can see that damage in the rear view mirror. He checks that side mirror, and you can see the wing is askew. He knows the impact that he took in turn number 10 and backed it into the tire wall, but an unfortunate end to a pretty good run and what has been a pretty good weekend for the driver, the 12.
Yeah, it was running in 4th position, and as you mentioned, doing battle with the 77 of Brady Clapham, but it all went away with contact to the outside wall. Nice work by the 12 car of Mark Boyd to stay out of the racing line and just move his way slowly and safely back in towards pit lane, where he'll come to the attention of his team. And the leader of this race, Kenny Reedman, zooms by to the inside and driver's right. But well, it's a terrible break for the driver, Mark Boyd, who will make his way into pit lane, and I expect very quickly climb out of that car, because there's not going to be an opportunity for him to continue. Again, the damages to the wing, it's hard to see exactly what has taken place underneath. The bodywork along the right side of the car has been damaged, but you can't tell really if there's any suspension parts that have been damaged there as well.
Yeah, as we mentioned, the cars are fairly robust, but when you test them against a tire wall or a concrete wall, they tend to lose, and unfortunately for Mark Boyd. And this will have some points implications as well. Boyd came into this one 5th in points, chasing his teammate Stiles, and Stiles was just 4 points up on him coming into this race, so that gap is going to get bigger. I don't think Brady Clapham can catch him, at least not in this event. Again, there's a couple more to come to finish off the season, and no doubt Mark Boyd will have his car fixed in time for that, but he'll lose a little bit of ground for sure after today.
Those two had actually flipped positions after the first race of the weekend, with Chris Stiles picking up 30 points for a 3rd place run, and Mark Boyd only picking up 24, so they've flipped spots, and it's Chris Stiles who's 4th, and Mark Boyd, as you saw, will pay the price again today. And there's the 77 of Brady Clapham, who started in 8th, but has now climbed all the way up to 4th position and is having himself a pretty good day.
Yeah, he sure is. And again, he was chasing the 12 of Mark Boyd and running around that car. We didn't see if there was any doesn't appear to be any damage on the 77 of Brady Clapham, so it may have just been a chance where you catch the curbing, and that's one of the things about turn number 10. And these drivers know all the intricacies of this course. If you catch a curb in a wrong spot, it bounces you to the outside and you lose ground, or something like that could happen, or the back end could slide around. So that could have been what happened to the 12 of Mark Boyd, as Brady Clapham, again, no damage to the Emzone number 77. And again, the youngster continues on a solid top 5 run, sitting in 4th spot right now.
Now his job is going to get a little bit more challenging. Chris Stiles in the number 7 car is the 3rd place runner that Brady Clapham will be challenging for. It's an almost 9-second gap between those two, so there will be very few spots around this 2.5-mile circuit that he'll be able to see the car that he is chasing. So now he's going to have to rely on trying to race himself and post consistent laps. He may get some word from the team on the radio how he's doing, whether he's able to cut into that lead or not, but this is another challenge for these racers, and again, part of the learning for young racers like Brady Clapham, how to run and run down drivers that you're chasing.
And you talk about dominating performances, how about the drive by the 42 Reedman Management Liqui-Moly backed entry of Kenny Reedman. He just went around John Painter in the 9, put him a lap down. Painter is running in the 9th position, so it gives you an idea of the pace that's being put up by the driver of the 42. Owen Clark in the 55 continues in 2nd spot. The difference the last time past the stripe, just under 6 seconds. So Clark just losing a fraction of a second every single lap as the clock continues to tick down. Now just over 12 minutes remaining in this 40-minute time race.
I wonder if this is the experience of Kenny Reedman coming to the fore here, as we saw yesterday. Built up a big lead and had plenty of time to navigate his way through the traffic, so makes it a little easier than the job that Owen Clark in that 55 has. He's trying to navigate through traffic, also trying to get through quickly because he doesn't want that gap to grow any further, and maybe has to force himself into doing things that he doesn't want to do just to try to stay close. But he has a 5.9-second gap now between 1st place runner Kenny Reedman and the 55 of Owen Clark.
And when you compare times for Kenny Reedman, as you mentioned, he can ease off just a little bit. His last lap time was about a second off where his best lap time was. So a 122 flat compared to a 121 flat for Kenny Reedman. As he crosses the stripe, now he turns up the wick again, a 121.3. So as he gets through lap traffic, he tests himself once more.
And again, just finding your way around the course and seeing where you can improve. We just saw a quick glimpse of that 7 car of Chris Stiles, who is running in 3rd position now behind the 55 of Owen Clark.
And you see Purity Gas on the side pod of the 7 car of Chris Stiles and Mark Boyd as well. And Purity Gas, a big supporter of the Emzone Radical Cup Canada Series for both the Masters and the Radical Cup cars. Big presence in the pits, deliver nitrogen gas, and there's depots for these drivers because you put nitrogen gas in the tires. They don't grow necessarily as much. Nitrogen not affected by the heat quite as much. So Purity Gas, a big supporter of the series here in 2024.
Just over 10 minutes remaining here at CTMP, 2nd race of the weekend for the Emzone Radical Cup Canada. Looking at 3rd place runner Chris Stiles. He's trying to run down the 55 of Owen Clark, who is quite a stretch ahead of him. And then there is a big difference as well of over 6 seconds from Owen Clark to the leader of this race, Kenny Reedman, who started on pole and after a bit of a tussle in the early going with Owen Clark has been able to pull out a lead, and that last lap by was a little over 6 seconds, and now in a pretty comfortable position with 10 minutes remaining here.
And if you're looking for an update on the Masters class running order, we can do that for you too. Daniel Earl still out in front of Tim Sanderson and Robert Burgess. So Sanderson has managed to leapfrog the number 2 of Robert Burgess. But again, those 3 are relatively tight on track. They're all within about a second of each other on track. So it could still change at any moment as Sanderson, again, looking to chip into that points lead that had been built up by the 2 of Robert Burgess. He cut 5 points into it in race number 1 and stands to cut another 5 points into it today.
Those 3 had a good tussle winding up on the podium yesterday, and this, as we said yesterday as well, the championship battle will go right down to the end of the season. A very competitive field in the Masters category of the Emzone Radical Cup Canada as well.
That was a good look at Chris Stiles. Picked up his 3rd podium of the season in race number 1 and has had a quietly uneventful race sitting in 3rd. He's not quite kept up to the pace of the top 2 but is solidly running in third and able to distance himself from the 77 of Brady Clapham, who sits in fourth spot. There is Daniel Earl, fifth overall on track, leader in the Masters class, and the number 39 ahead of Tim Sanderson and Robert Burgess, who, there's Sanderson. You can see the other green nose car just in behind, and the red car just in behind, so they are all within striking distance. They can see each other.
Good battle, and yes, if you can see the driver that you're pursuing, that's a great motivator for any racer out on track. You can see at different parts of the circuit where you might be able to get a little closer, where you might be able to make an opportunity to pass a little bit later on. Want to mention Alana Carter as well, who started off in 5th, fell back just a little bit, in fact all the way to 10th spot. She's climbed forward a couple of spots, now running in 8th in her 16 as well.
And she's not too far behind that battle. As you can see, the leaders in the Masters class coming into some lap traffic. That's Tobias Lutke in the 22. And he'll pull to the outside, give as much room as he can. He ran out of room on the outside, and now Daniel Earl looks to the inside, and that allows the 07 of Tim Sanderson to close up. To the outside of turn number 2 goes Sanderson. They'll be side by side into turn 3. Sanderson on the inside, Daniel Earl outside, and we've got a side-by-side battle for the lead of the Masters class.
And that 22 doing his best to stay out of the way, but not really succeeding in going from driver's left to right. It's recommended that you hold your line, and I'm not sure that we have seen much of that from Tobias Lutke here.
There he does in turn 5. He opens the inside lane for Daniel Earl to sneak through. Sanderson slid back in turn number 4. Now he is in the draft, and look at Burgess going way to the outside. He's got a great run off of turn number 5. They're going to try 3 wide down the Andretti straightaway. Oh boy, Burgess to the outside of Tim Sanderson. Tobias Lutke is just going to hold his line on the outside. Burgess retakes second spot in the Masters class.
I can't believe that Robert Burgess made that work. Moving to the outside, I thought he was going to get trapped behind Tobias Lutke. He held on, kept his foot in it, ran right through the middle, and takes over second spot in the Masters category. What a fight for those 3 podium positions. It's still not decided.
6.5 minutes to go, and yeah, this is the best battle on the track. Again, 5th, 6th, and 7th in the running order, but 1, 2, and 3 in the Masters Class Championship. And the only difference between the Radical Cup Canada cars and the Masters Class cars is the age and experience of the drivers. So these are generally known as gentlemen drivers. Boy, they have their elbows out right now, and they are taking it to each other in a street fight here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Tim Sanderson will be kicking himself. He had an opportunity for the lead a lap ago. Now he sits in 3rd behind the points leader in the Masters Championship, Robert Burgess, as they head down the Andretti straightaway. Once again, Sanderson will be able to catch the toe from the 2 of Robert Burgess. Just up in ahead, you see Doug Allingham in the Dayglow yellow and blue, number 30. Up in 12th spot as he goes around. Lian Chu in the 3, tucks to the inside, turn number 8. But again, these drivers are going to catch that lap traffic again. So this could play a role in the outcome of the Masters Championship. And here comes Burgess to the inside, turn number 10, and he'll take over the lead. Again, lap traffic playing a role. And now Daniel Earl goes for a spin on the exit of turn number 10. So from 1st, and now he will fall down the running order. He went from 1st to 2nd in turn number 10, and it looks like he's going to continue to drop as that car sits stopped on the outside of turn number 10. Backwards after a spin here in the late stages. Again, just a local caution in turn number 10. Daniel Earl will be able to right that car and get it going again as the leader comes through. There goes Kenny Reedman sliding by on the outside. The corner marshals doing a very good job alerting the drivers of that stricken number 39 of Daniel Earl, and Earl will get going once again. We'll see where he comes through as far as the running order goes, and it looks like 8th spot will be where he will find his home. So a big drop in the running order for the driver, the 39, but now Robert Burgess, your race leader in the Masters class. There's your overall race leader, the 42 of Kenny Reedman. Boy, drama in the late stages of this one. Now with just under 4 minutes to go. A 40-minute timed race, and you wait to the end before the sparks start to fly, as is always the case here in the Emzone Radical Cup Canada Championship, presented by Michelin. Robert Burgess saw the opportunity in lap traffic, stuck it to the inside. Again, no contact between him and the 39. A clean pass in turn number 10, and I think the 39 of Daniel Earl just might have dropped a wheel to the outside on the exit of turn number 10 and sent him for a spin. And all the way down the running order, there's Chris Stiles. Third place overall. Third place in the Radical Cup Canada Championship running order right now. John Painter just ahead in the number 9. Painter, the only driver from Australia joining the series in this year, running a full slate of races in 2024. And Owen Clark just ahead of those two drivers. And that is Owen Clark and John Painter from the drone shot overhead. The 55 of Clark seems to be dropping back. Yeah, he's well off the pace. That last time through was a 131.617, so we may have an opportunity for a change of position in the podium running order here of the Radical Cup Championship. Stiles is still very much on it, but Owen Clark has an issue in the 55. He is off the pace, but still staying out there. You can see the car wiggling, so maybe it is a tire going down. There's something amiss on the 55 as Clark gets passed by the 7. So a change of second position now as Chris Stiles moves up to the second step of the podium. Clark is going to try his best to hang on for these last couple of minutes to a podium position. Brady Clapham will be the next to give him a challenge, but Clapham still a few seconds back in trying to catch that 55. We'll see where he is coming through onto the Andretti straightaway. There's John Painter, Stiles. There's Owen Clark, and there, the orange car in the background is Brady Clapham. That's the 77, so that'll be the next battle for position as Kenny Reedman will slide through turn number 2 once again. White flag is out, so this is the final time around for the Emzone Radical Cup Canada Championship cars, and the Liqui Moly number 42 of Kenny Reedman, who started on pole and has led every step of the way so far. Works his way around the 07 of Tim Sanderson, who is in 7th overall on track behind the 16 of Alana Carter, who has taken advantage of some late race mishaps by a couple of drivers and moved up into 6th, but so far it's been steady Eddie all day for the driver, the 42, Kenny Reedman, down the straightaway for the final time. And he'll be able to catch his breath in just a moment here as he eases his way through the high-speed turn number 8 and into the S's for the final time here in the Emzone Radical Cup Canada Championship, presented by Michelin. And for the 6th time now in 2024, the 42 of Kenny Reedman crowned a winner here in the Radical Cup Canada Championship. And he will extend his points lead, but by how much, as Owen Clark had been dropping back. Chris Stiles, a great run in the Purity Gas number 7, will come through the S's. He has John Painter just ahead. Painter is a lap down, so not a battle for position and onto the front straightaway. Second place will go to the driver, the 7, Chris Stiles. And you see big cheers from Stiles and big cheers from the crew as well, as he will step on the second step of the podium here today. And we are watching to see Owen Sanderson has fallen off and out of this one. The 07 of Tim Sanderson was in a tight battle in the Masters Class Championship with the 2 of Robert Burgess, so this will affect him. And finally, Owen Clark comes through to complete his run. You see him shaking his head. Not quite what he was looking for. Finishes in 4th, so Brady Clapham in the 77 will round out the podium in the Radical Cup Canada class. Robert Burgess, Tim Sanderson, and Daniel Earl, I believe, will finish up 1, 2, 3 in the Masters class. Again, those results still unofficial at this point. As you can see, the 07 of Tim Sanderson had stopped on track. But there is Daniel Earl in the 39, Robert Burgess in the 2. According to timing and scoring right now, is your race winner in the Masters class. But overall race win goes to Kenny Reedman, followed by Chris Stiles and Brady Clapham. There is Reedman, your winner overall. And then in the Masters class, Burgess, Sanderson, and Earl, your top 3. For Todd Lewis, I'm Dave Bradley. Big congratulations to Reedman and to Robert Burgess here today in race number 2 of the Radical Cup Canada Championship presented by Michelin. Emzone, a big supporter of this series. And man, they always put on a great show, and they did exactly that. Race number 2 here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park as part of the Labor Day Sprint. It's a beautiful day for racing today. So as those cars make their way down to the paddock area, the next race on track is the Formula Regional Americas Championship for their 3rd race of the weekend. And they'll be back on track in just a short moment.